Welcome to Season 3 of the Business Gist, where we're always talking about the human side of the bottom line. In this season, we're talking to business owners on how they're navigating the worldwide pandemic, what they're doing to pivot, and how they're making tough choices between people and profit.
On this episode of the Business Gist, we are speaking with Jim Wolford, owner and CEO of Atomic Data and the Foundation Technologies.
Introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your company.
My name is Jim Wolford. I own a few companies. Atomic Data is a technology firm in downtown Minneapolis, roughly 275 employees. And we service about 650 clients. Business IT is really the services that we're in. But we do a wide range of services inside business IT. So we do everything from run your network to build custom software to custom projects like building out a stadium. We do a lot of venues, build out the Walker art space and garden. And then we also do just anything related to IT that a business needs. And that just keeps expanding more and more and more every day. So we're really a company that doesn't overly focus in one area, but we focus on how business uses IT. And that just keeps expanding, especially at times like this. So the other company is the Foundation, and Foundation is an IT company of about 50 employees, and they cater to simply marketing and the industries that use Apple computers the most. And those two companies kind of operate together.
Awesome. Well, that would be me. I switched over to Apple a long time ago, and whenever I have to use a PC, I'm like, what?
Yeah. Well, or have someone who works on PCs that doesn't work on Apples try to take care of you. So It gets rather confusing at times. So.
Oh yeah, we one company I worked at, our entire marketing team switched over to Apple, and our poor IT department was like, "You guys are the worst." So very smart of you to create a separate company just for that group. Can you give us some examples of some of the projects that you might do that you're saying, kind of all things business IT?
Sure. So we have a company, Great Clips, who's been a long-term client. And they sort of come to us with just about everything. And then they just sort of ask our opinions. And at times, it's just sharing opinions, more in a consultative fashion. And then at other times, it becomes a new business line, or it becomes something we do. So we used to just do sort of their data center, their cloud for corporate IT, the internal. And as we worked with them more, they're like, wow, you guys really have a lot to offer. And today, we actually support the 5,000 stores that are out. We support all of the salons' Wi-Fi and actually have put all of it in. We support all the iPads through our sister company Foundation supports all the iPads, and that's become their point of sales. It's become their apps. They actually are building a text me when I'm next app during this pandemic. And they're using this time to get ahead so that now people don't even have to wait in a crowded salon. You get a text when you're next, and then just that person comes and goes in to kind of limit the flow of the human beings inside the store so that they can keep to most of the regulations that they're starting to have to follow in most of these counties and cities of having 50% or less capacity. And so we're building out that application for them over the last 3 months so that they're kind of ready to hit the ground running. So we started just doing very simple data center business with them, and it's expanded to we touch every single thing that they do now, including what they do in the salon. So all of that happened because we kind of have that consultative relationship that keeps growing. They actually came to us for something last week that we're not going to do, and we were trying to help them get with someone to do contact tracing. So that if they do have a positive case, they can go back and show all the people that were in the salon during that time. And, that's something that okay, we're going to help them get to another vendor and help them find someone who can help with that. But sometimes that becomes a service we offer. So it's kind of a very consultative, helping folks use IT for business. And then a lot of times that expands our services, or we lead them to other services.
So do companies normally come to you and say, I need this, or do they come to you and say, hey, I'm struggling with this, what can we do?
A little bit of both now, but I think for a long time we were known as the firefighters. So you usually came to us when you were on fire, and we tried to help you figure out what was next with it. But I think as the market keeps changing, and we're going to see another change come out of this period, and they have less IT internal, which is what feels like's been happening all along. They want companies who are out with 600 other companies in the market, seeing all these different things, and you bring that expertise back so that they can move faster. And I think that seems to be what's continuing to happen, because if you're an internal IT team, and I have a great admiration for them, but I also I've watched so many not be able to perform because they're an internal team who's looked at as a cost. B, they can't see everything that we see because we're out with 600, 700, 800 clients. And so they can only perform to a certain level. And at a certain point, we become tone deaf to internal IT. And folks like us can come in and be a breath of fresh air. We can bring a lot of different things to bear. And so we're seeing more and more just say, nope, that's the company we want to work with all the time. And internal IT continues to kind of get shrunk down. I think at a certain point that will stop because you need some, but I think there's just so much to offer a company when you can bring all of that expertise to bear with solving problems. So a lot come and say, hey, we need this. And probably 70%, to be honest, probably show up and say, yeah, replace this vendor who's doing that and you do the same thing or do it better. But about 30% are really new and exciting kind of, how are we going to do this? One of those was Allianz Field and Minnesota United with the soccer stadium in St. Paul. They wanted a different experience. And so they came to us and said, what can we do that's really different? And a lot of different things fell out of that 3 years of planning and then the launching of that venue that was vastly different than other stadiums in the country. So that's a really different model, and it's a model that fit them really well. And because they were open, they got to do a lot of different things that we didn't see in other soccer stadiums or even any other stadiums in the country.
So for our listeners who haven't had a chance to go to the stadium,
Sure.
What are some of the things?
So a lot of the things are, it is Atomic Data owns actually the entire infrastructure of IT inside the stadium, which is the first one we know that is that. It helped them because they wanted a partner to own it and have a lot of skin in the game. Mm-hmm. So that business model of us owning it and managing the IT and having a lot invested in it really brought them to the table and us to the table to talk about all kinds of different things. So, it's probably the first stadium that has all points of data coming to one main core database. They can get a lot of information from us on, who's on the Wi-Fi, who's on the DAS, which is the telecom system inside the building, where everyone are, different data on what people are buying, what they want, emergency services. Everything just kind of is in one system and flows all the way out to the outer experiences outside the stadium that are there on the property and everything in. We know when one gate is backing up just a little bit and extra people are sent there to take care of it and expand that experience. They know a lot of data, back-end data details that you just wouldn't get that are all different vendors at other stadiums. And so the data flow is a lot better. And, they're really focused now on getting you the best soccer experience on the field. And we're really working with the vendors to get you the best entertainment experience inside the stadium. And it takes a lot off their plate when all of a sudden you're running an event and you don't have to worry about those things. So I think it's overall user experience, but they've also seen a massive increase in use of Wi-Fi because it's a really good experience, which we all know how much people are living on their phones even when they're at a live event. Yeah. So a lot of different things that are kind of back end, but everything's tied together and they just keep adding to that as they keep going. And now they've got a really solid base to do that. And a lot of other stadiums, that was a cost. And then it's an aging asset that really is kind of kept far away and no one wants to spend any money on it.
Brilliant. That's a great model.
Yeah, so it's been fun. So we get a lot of that from clients who come to us and just say, what can we imagine next? What can we do next? And we're seeing that again during this period. How can we have more people work remote? How can we still build culture? And they know that IT is at the center of all of this now, because without it, your people can't work remote. They can't have an experience like even you and I are having right now. So it's really a time when people are starting to, we are seeing a leapfrogging kind of happen. This would have taken us 5, 6, 7 more years before, the community got to this level. And what we're seeing is employers trusting employees more because they had to. Yep. Let you work remote more. A lot of people used to ask to work remote, and no, I need you in the office. Now it's like, I don't want you in the office, yeah. Right? And so we're seeing a big leapfrogging in the use of technology, well, by force, but we're seeing that then a lot of people, more than I would have thought, especially during the last few weeks when I thought more would come back to the office. Mm-hmm. What we're seeing is Minnesota saying, at least Minneapolis, St. Paul saying, you know what, if you don't have to be in, we want you to continue to work from where you are because we're not sure this is over yet. And we want a hybrid model where people will come back, but they'll also stay there. And it's just going to be more of a elastic model rather than this in or out kind of model. And I was a little shocked. I thought that on May 18th forward, we would see a kind of a migration back, and very little back, to be quite honest. We're seeing more of let's just stay put if it's working, besides the retail side,
Yeah, I'm hearing that too from friends and colleagues and neighbors that a lot of people are expecting to be at home for at least the summer, maybe even longer.
Yeah, well, I think many don't want to be, and many of them. And I think the biggest thing pushing was, they don't want to be school teachers anymore. Yeah. They didn't get it. They didn't get a degree in teaching for a reason. So we're starting to see a little bit of a push of people want the culture back and they want to get out of their house, of course. Mm-hmm. But from an employer standpoint, yeah, it's not the rush I thought we would see.
Yeah. Well, so talk to me a little bit about that. How are you either personally or how are the 600 to 700 companies that you're supporting really shifting right now?
Well, I think the biggest thing is just, they are, I would say 10 to 20% shifted to after that first week of everyone holding their breath because, it seems like a year ago. Now, but it's only been, that week in March when I think everyone was just like, what is going to happen? I think after that, 10 to 20% said, all right, wow, I got to use this to get ahead. And I started seeing that. The other probably 70 to 80% were still kind of holding their breath. And of course that varies by industry, and so I think the shift is hybrid remote. Still need the culture in the office, but we're going to get hybrid remote. We saw a big push to, we went and got certain people's servers and just took them to the data center. And so they became cloud enabled by force. And I think that won't come back. So I think the final couple nails in the coffin of the network that was server based at the office is kind of dying. And people know that needs to be out so that they can get to it heavily from any place. I think that we saw an escalation of a lot of people that never use VPNs from home went and used them, and now people are like, "Oh, that wasn't so bad," like that didn't hurt us. And so we're going to see an escalation of that. We did see a concern of I don't want to be in the same cloud as the schools because the schools were inundating and bringing down systems, and I think people know that so some of the public cloud offerings are. A Google or an Amazon are a little less appealing because they don't want to be on the same cloud as everyone else if everyone's going to go through this. Yep. So there's a little bit of which I like, which is a focus now on things that they used to not pay attention to. They didn't care. A business owner would be like, yeah, do what the IT people say. We'll go to whatever cloud they want. Now it's like, whoa, I guess I don't want to be at the cloud that would, I always call it the Mall of America cloud, where everybody's going, because I don't want to get inundated and then have my systems come down if the schools don't plan and they inundate the system. So we're seeing a lot of concern around and focus on, my IT network is my factory. I need to pay attention to it. I need to have people get remote and work in an office. And I need to use technology to get ahead in ways that we never thought of. So we have a client who is a jeweler and has many stores. And this has been traumatic because retail gets closed.
Yeah.
And they were kind of like using this period to go, how are we going to re-envision selling jewelry? And they really have. So they bought huge monitors so that now instead of handling a lot of things, they can do it on a camera and you see it on a large Apple screen, right? Instead of a jeweler going back and forth with a lot of diamonds. So now they have cameras on the telescope showing you the diamond rather than you looking at it or handling a lot of it. They're doing a lot of Zoom meetings, believe it or not. And I just talked to them yesterday and they had a huge week.
Nice.
Believe it or not, which I don't think you or I would have probably gauged that they were going to.
Right.
And they're very excited and going, oh my gosh, we think this online thing is going to really be huge for us. And so people are starting to see that they really can re-envision their company in a different way. And technology is the only thing that's going to help you do that in this virtual kind of world that we're going to start living in a little, a little bit more, not to the far extreme, but people are really looking at this idea that I can re-envision things. And I still think that's the 20-30%, right? The 80% or 70% or the majority are still like, when are we getting back? I got to get back to how I did things. And what am I going to do? And I think we'll just see more and more move into that other, because I don't think this is going away anytime soon.
What's the most dramatic thing that you've seen a client re-envision? Has anyone just done a 180?
I haven't seen too much of that because it's been slow, right? I mean, we've been kind of moving to the cloud. We've been what I call decentralizing, or moving the center of your network out, not in. So that's been escalated, but not dramatic. I haven't seen a lot of drama or any dramatic moves, I don't think. I do think that, looking at a Great Clips who uses this in a pretty short period of time, this
Right.
didn't take a big corporate decision from
Right.
a board to build an app that is going to help you deal with this. That's pretty fast moving for a company their size.
Yeah.
to jump on that. I think, yeah, and unfortunately, I think we are going to see the same thing we saw in 9/11, the same thing we saw in the financial, where this is another steroid shot in the patient of downsizing, the patient of how do I get small, efficient. You know this from your experience, right? How do I make supply chain as easy as possible and get the friction out? And people use technology, software, network to do that. And so I think it's just another iteration of this process we've been going through in the digital age. And unfortunately, the ones who lagged behind, this moves you fast. But nothing dramatic yet. I think if we see some things in the fall that go back again, then I think you'll see some people that said, okay, I kind of was expecting to return to normal and that's not going to happen. Now I really have to adjust to this. But I think, to me, the most dramatic is people are just, retail has to envision a different way of selling their products. Now, you and I would have said that started with the shopping cart and online shopping. Yep. So I think this is just another push harder to that idea. I will tell you, and then the other thing that I see coming, because you look at a restaurant, which is probably the most hit industry besides maybe hospitality and hotels and travel, is this idea that they're really beholden to the Grubhub, these companies that kind of came in and were big transformation, but they took a big piece of the pie. I think we're going to see innovation around, I don't want to use those things. Because that doesn't go with buying local. That doesn't go with this. I've seen some restaurateurs share how much Grubhub or someone takes and they can't survive.
Right.
And so I think what we're gonna have to see once we go through this first blitz is a change where they start doing that on their own and figuring out how to build their own brand, do their own online stuff, and cut those guys out because they take too much.
Yeah.
So it's going to be, I love it because I think it's going to change things. I think it's going to really disrupt and let the business owner figure out, the entrepreneur, how do I kind of redevelop this? And I think that that's going to be what comes out at the end of this.
You know, it's interesting that you're talking about that. When I was applying some of my supply chain thinking to restaurants as I think about them opening, right? Because if you can only have 25% capacity, how are you going to make the money that you need to stay profitable and stay in business? And so I started thinking about warehouses that we've worked in where you've got the trucks that come in, you know, to drop stuff off. And on the other side of the building, it's the trucks that are leaving to, I was like, I wonder if you could apply some thinking like that, where you're on an app, you order your food, you get that text just like Great Clips does that says you're up. You come in, you pick up your drinks at the bar. You don't even have to see anyone. You go to your designated table. And then when you're done, like maybe you've got a time frame where you're there for an hour, and then you move it out, like out the back way, so that you're limiting that traffic flow and limiting the number of people. Just really rethinking the experience.
I mean, I think that, you know, I know a lot of restaurateurs who closed. They're done.
Yep.
And a lot of that was debt. They just couldn't service the debt that they incurred to get where they were, which is sad. But this does tend to clean industries and then get them to reimagine themselves.
Yeah.
It's going to be very interesting to see what someone can do when you build, not morph to, but when you build with this in mind.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see a completely, like you're saying, a different model. I saw a model in Europe where you're outside. I think it was in France. You're outside, and they're actually serving you food on these long, almost like the pizza.
Oh yeah.
The guy with the pizza thing that puts in the oven. Yeah. They use that to put things on the table, and that you were almost inside your own shower curtain space because it was outside and they had the room. And you know, to me, it's a little sterile. Yeah. Why not just get it to go and go? I think we're going to see a lot of to go, pick up, like we are. Black Sheep Pizza is one of those ones that they've done a very good job. I don't know what they're using, but they're using their own app online. They're not paying a lot of fee to someone else. You order and you pull up and you pick up and they put it in your car and you're done. Yeah. To me, I still think we're going to have about a year of, it's pretty uncomfortable to go to a place and put your hands in your mouth publicly. Seems like nothing I really want to do. So I think it's going to be delivery. I think it's going to be pickup. I think it's going to be those types of foods, I think, will be the ones that we experience the best in the next 6 to 9 months. And then you and I will see somebody totally re-envisions how the dining experience, you know, Glam Donuts was another great one. I saw them and they just rebuilt the front of their store to be the counter moved to the opening door vestibule, and they had a thing and they're just handing donuts out. They had a line down the street.
Awesome.
So I think entrepreneurs will figure it out.
Yeah.
I don't think this short a time frame will be what you and I probably thought enough will happen. I haven't seen enough big change yet, but boy, I bet by fall, you and I are going to see a lot of big change.
I'm really interested to see what people do with outdoor spaces, especially now that you can take over the parking lots and sidewalks and all of that.
Well, Minnesota makes that a little complicated. I bet some cities will probably explode, right? Yeah. That you can, you know, Phoenix, someplace like that where you can go outside greater. I think rainy season, winter limits that a lot to where it has to be temporary, whatever you do. You know, the food truck world's going to be very good to us. I'm kind of glad that happened. And I think that we should see really explode. I think we're going to see that type of thing become more where we get food to go or we get it out like that. But outside is huge if you got the space.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see if there's anything we learned during the Super Bowl that we can pull forward, right? Because they did some pretty interesting things during that time outside.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, but I think food is going to be really interesting because I think a lot of the people that could have spent money on things like that got killed during this.
Yeah.
And the bigger places are going to be the ones that probably wash out.
Yeah.
And we're going to see the small people be the ones who really are going to, I think, that's what's going to be exciting to see what the little guy does.
Yeah.
I don't think the big guys for another year will have something to roll out.
Yeah.
It's going to be really interesting to see. I feel for a lot of people that this just so changed that experience, and hotels too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I've heard some horror stories of people traveling and pulling into places with like 400 rooms and asking for a room no one's been in. Matter of fact, the CEO told me this yesterday. He drove from Denver to here, and he stopped and he walked in and he's like, "Hey, can we get a room that maybe no one's been in for a few days?" And the guy said, "Take your pick. I have 400. There are only 3 rooms being used right now."
Oh God.
So it's like, what's that going to become? Like, how is that how are they gonna survive the bigger places? And then I think the B2Bs will blow up, or the Airbnb, because there's no cost if you just, okay, I'm not gonna rent my house for a while, but when it does come back, you can. So those types of ideas may explode during this.
Yeah.
So hoteling is a whole other, and there are many other industries that have just been decimated.
Yeah. I think of events, right? And how people just can't do live in-person events anymore. And that's actually been an interesting space to watch, to see how they're really embracing technology to create whole new experiences that never existed before.
Weddings, the poor graduates of 2020, and how many graduation parties got canceled, how many catering events to graduation parties got canceled, how many weddings are changed where now there's 10 people, but they'll have their party when this is over. I've heard, I've been uninvited to many weddings this summer. I don't know what I did, but uninvited, and they're having a small gathering, and then they're planning on having a big gathering in a year.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's going to just go back to normal. Yeah. And people are just waiting versus what's going to change.
Yeah. Well, and fundraising, right? So many events were done to fundraise, and that's been an interesting model to watch shift in the virtual events that people are doing, but not making them sterile.
Yeah, I'm a huge nonprofit supporter in town. I love the galas. We probably go to 40 a year, and it's difficult because I'm not going to sit there and be on one-on-one. I just that's a tough one for me. So I think what they're finding is the people that support them are going to support them, but that's only going to be about half, and the other half, it's really complicated. And what they're going to do is going to be really unique and different. Even though, again, I think in a year you get a vaccine, hopefully those kind of go back to where they were, I think. Right? I mean, I imagine.
Yeah.
But again, you're right. If they are successful at this, it's hard to plan an annual gala, and they spend a lot of money, and then they may find that it's easier to do this.
Yeah. It'll be, I think a year from now when we look back on everything, just watching all of the different industries and how they either shifted, modified, or just survived, it's going to be really interesting.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
As you've been going through this, have you had a mantra for yourself or your team to keep you guys moving forward?
I mean, we're really lucky, right? I mean, we're really lucky. We spent, we were born during 9/11. That's what we kind of came into be. We were 3 employees, and that was a riveting time when business stopped for 6 months and no one knew what was going on. And so we've always kind of been lean and mean, and even at 275 we are. So we really haven't overly felt a massive change except for working remote. And I think the mantra has been, it took us 20 years. We built a great model. Let's stand on what we built. And during those first few weeks, people had to get used to working remotely. So the mantra was just, you guys have got to focus. I want people spending. My message was, hey, you don't have to drive to and from work. You're gaining tons of time. I want 10 hours a day, and I want you focused on being with clients. It's remote. That's life. Get with them, be with them no matter what, tons of time with them, and just work those relationships, because you got to get them through this feeling, because it's a lot of feelings right now.
Yes.
And so I think the mantra has been like, listen, we're a family, we're staying together, there will be no layoffs, there will be no anything, we're going to make it through, and total transparency on everything. I try to have, we have an all company every like 2 weeks, and every day managers are talking with their people and going through things. And so it's been transparent, just I'll be here. I've come to the office every day since this has happened, because we have 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We have 3 shifts every day that have been coming for the data centers and to be on our monitoring center. Sure. So I've been with them, and I think that has been the change. And been the mantra is just, we're here, we're not going anywhere. We built this for, IT is the center of what's going to take our clients forward. We got to be here and just be steady. And they've really responded well to that. I've been blown away. I mean, it's crazy to me. I'm having to look in the mirror and go through a lot of changes myself, in that here we are, an IT company. You'd think I'm the last person in the world that's got to be sold on remote work and all this stuff. But, I really liked people being here. I liked seeing people. And we built a solid culture of that. My people have blown me away. They've earned, because I believe they're all trying to earn the right to be in a new hybrid model where they work remote more often. And they've just crushed it. I've been so impressed with all of my people. Have just shown me a new light, that I can trust them more. I don't have to be as engaged in everything they're doing, because I can trust them to do it, and that they care about our clients and each other. And it's just been phenomenal. I almost don't want them to come back if we could keep that pace.
Yeah.
But I think it's been the 20 years of building these cultures that are allowing good companies to have people remote. So how we then blend going forward, I think, is very difficult, because, we've hired 3 people during this period. Nice. And how do you onboard someone when 90% of the company's not here, right? And get them the same culture that everyone else had. How does someone go from, get a job from one department to another department without knowing those people and without being around them? That becomes difficult. So it's going to be really interesting to see what and how we go forward with. But our mantra has just been, we're a family. We're going to stick by each other. We're going to get through everything. And I'm not going to let anything happen to anybody. And that's been, I think, the glue that has kind of kept us together.
What advice would you have for other business owners as they're continuing just to figure this out?
My biggest advice is, and many don't, I hate that this is true, and I think you and I would be shocked at this, but I've talked to enough that, they didn't think they were great leaders. They didn't think that they were motivators. They didn't think they were what they are. And I think if you're a leader now of a business, you are going to have to be the great communicator. You're going to have to be all these things, and you shouldn't shy away from it. If you're a business owner already, you're there. And believe it or not, I talked to a few yesterday, and they were just like, God, you were right. I have to talk to everybody every week. I should do these Zoom, I should have big company meetings, and I should motivate them, and I should talk about these things. So I do think that, not to get political, but in a world where there's less leadership than you and I would want. And I think that is locally and nationally. Yep. And especially during this time. And I think that it's heightened, right? We're very sensitive right now. Yes. They need and are thirsty for, I think, great leadership to say, it's going to be okay.
Yes.
I have a plan. May have to change every day, but I got a plan. And I'm going to alter it. I'm going to take care of things, and we're going to communicate. It doesn't mean the plan's going to take away all our pain, but I have a plan. They need to hear that. They need to hear it personally. They need to hear it professionally. They need to hear it. And they're not hearing it from our national and I don't think enough from any of our leaders. And so I think they really do look then to us. And an owner has to take that on, and they have to be the head of the family, and you can't shy away from it. And I don't think you can give it to your. I have great directors and managers below me, but they can do so much, but everybody really needs to hear and see and know that you're carrying water and chopping wood and showing up with them if you're going to ask them to do that. And that's vastly different than when you're in an office and you're golfing 3 times a week during the summer and your managers can run things. And as an owner, you don't need to be there. You got to be there to me right now.
Yeah.
And if you are, you're going to win. You're going to do great things. But if you're not, you cannot be an absentee owner in this world.
Yeah. Well, I think not only just for your day-to-day, but when we do come out of this, if you didn't show up, right, you're going to lose a lot of your good people.
I agree. And I think that, and you're not going to attract a lot of the people that now we're going to have a great move. There'll be a great migration to the companies that planted the flag and stayed firm with their folks. I had an interview yesterday with someone who just looked at me and went, I came through a year ago. I'm back now because I know that this is the kind of place that you got everybody through all of this. And I want to be at a place like that.
Yeah.
And so I think that you do have great opportunity to advance your culture if you're a business owner, to really, especially those of us in smaller businesses, to go up against the big guys, because the big guys did not give warm and fuzzies to their people during this. Yeah. I don't care who you are. If you're in a huge corporation, you're waiting for the next layoff.
Yeah. Yeah. People are watching right now. Yeah. It's it's going to be another opportunity, I think, for small companies to.
I agree. So I would take advantage. Take advantage of that as a business owner. You got to really move that forward and make sure that your culture is around embracing who you are. And hopefully that's family, and you have another competitive advantage now.
Absolutely. Well, we've talked about a lot of wonderful things. Any kind of parting thoughts that you might have today?
No, I mean, you didn't hear a lot about technology from me, which is, this is how we kind of run our business. It's the technology gets us to where we want to in business. I would say, no, I think you and I have shared a lot. I think it's going to be really interesting what the entrepreneurs of this world do with this and how we change how we do things. Some things will go back to normal when normal comes back. But there will be a new way of doing things that will be a hybrid. And I think it's going to be really exciting. And I think technology is probably one of the things that has to help the creative entrepreneur get what they're going to do next. So I would just say, don't hold back and imagine all kinds of things, and technology can help get you there.
Wonderful. I love that. Imagine all kinds of things. I mean, now is the perfect time to take that step back and think about the things that you maybe thought a long time ago would never be possible.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Good. Well, great insights. I really appreciate all of the time and thought that you put into our conversation here today, and I wish you the best. Glad to hear that you guys are thriving and doing well, and let's make sure we stay in touch.
All right. Take care, Megan.
Thank you.
Be well.
Thank you for joining us today on The Business Gist. Make sure to follow us at thebusinessgist.com.